It's the game as Michigan heads on the road to face Ohio State. 120th edition of the greatest rivalry in college sports and all of sports as Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes look to end the three-game losing streak to the Michigan Wolverines. And there has been a lot of pressure on Ryan Day to do that. Let's just put it in perspective of the Ohio State fan base. If you're out there and you're an Ohio State fan, you know that there's basically three objectives to this season. Number one, you have to beat Michigan. Number two, you'd really love to win the Big Ten championship. And number three, boy, with this roster, you'd like to win a national championship. Those are lofty goals, but it doesn't even begin until this week when you can possibly end that three-game slide to the Michigan Wolverines. They have been thinking about this for over 1,000 days. The last time that they beat Michigan was pre-COVID. In fact, Saturday, when they play this game, it'll be 5 years to the day that they last beat Michigan. So the pressure clearly all on Ohio State. They've got the number 2 rank. Michigan's got no pressure because their season has not been a success whatsoever. They got their bowl eligibility last week when they were able to beat Northwestern, and then here we are, and we've got the 120th edition of the game. Now, I will say, even though Michigan's season has been a disappointment, and by all accounts it has been a learning experience for a guy like Sharon Moore in his first year as a head coach. He's going to get better, and he's going to change, and he's going to evolve based on the way that this season went. He will evolve both on field as a coach and off field as a coach. I think that we have seen that, by the way, both of those things transpire. We've seen them adjust on the field, namely the way that they went about their offensive game plan against Northwestern, even their defensive game plan against Northwestern. And we've seen that off the field in the way that they have gone after Bryce Underwood and really put a premium on high school recruiting and trying to give those NIL dollars to players that aren't even at Michigan yet. So these are clear evolutions of this program from the Jim Harbaugh era to now the Sharon Moore era. So that's going to be launched into this matchup. Will it pay dividends this week? We shall see. I will say that their best game was the last week against Northwestern by a wide margin. They scored 50 points. Their defense was outstanding. And you could say, well, it was against Northwestern. Well, fine, but at least we've seen it now. At least we've seen their offense do something to a substantial level. And then we're going to see this Ohio State team play with all the pressure on them. They've got the number 2 ranking. They need to win in order to go to Indianapolis and play Oregon for a Big Ten championship game. And I'm just interested every time I do and cover these Ohio State games is this the week that they evolve in the passing game and really attack down the field? I don't think that they've actually unleashed the full capability of their offense because I don't think that they have unleashed the full capability of what I think can be their most dynamic offensive player, and that's Jeremiah Smith. I get it, he's just a true freshman, but he is a dynamic threat. Speaking of Jeremiah Smith, he's a mismatch, yes, but we have an incredible piece online right now at foxsports.com. It was put out by Michael Cohen, and he's got a piece out there on Jeremiah Smith. Again, go check out foxsports.com right now because Michael went down to Miami, and he got some of the great stories about this legend of Jeremiah growing up in that area down in Miami and what has driven Jeremiah to be the best. Because trust me, I got to sit with him last week in the lunchroom. He has a very unique drive. It reminds me a lot of Marvin Harrison, but you understood that because Marvin had Marvin Sr., and so you understood that like Marvin was driven for something even bigger. Jeremiah Smith is at Ohio State for a purpose. He wanted to play under Brian Hartline to become the best he could possibly become. He wanted to play under Emeka Ibuka, who came back in order to mentor Jeremiah Smith. All of these things come together. And again, I would just encourage everyone, get over there to foxsports.com and check out that piece on Jeremiah Smith. The matchup in this game always comes down to the line of scrimmage. Why has Michigan won 3 in a row against Ohio State? Well, because they've been dominant at the line of scrimmage. They've been able to win the rushing battle. And I think that there are big questions whether they can do that this year. The Ohio State defense has been incredible. They're the number 1 defense in the country, period, both total defense and scoring defense. We saw them get after Curtis Rourke last week in Indiana. We've seen them stop the rushing game at times. We've seen them evolve schematically and produce more pressure on the quarterback, which they did not do against Oregon about 5 weeks ago. That's the main question that I have is this Ohio State defense. If they can stop Michigan from running the football, then they're going to have a great chance to win because that's where the game is won and lost. By the way, it's going to be really cold in the 20s. There's a chance for a lot of wind, so it could be a ground game in general. Michigan's offense has not been very effective other than that game against Northwestern, and now they go against one of, if not the best defense in the country. And I think it's going to be interesting. Jim Knowles' group, they like to bring pressure. Can't wait to see if they do that and see how this goes. This is always a great game. It doesn't matter what the records are. You're always going to get the best effort. And let's face it, if you're going to build a team that could threaten Ohio State, I think that you would want to build a team first and foremost with strength in the defensive line. That's exactly where Michigan is strongest. Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, you get that new interior of the offensive line of Ohio State. And then, there's going to be some questions there about their effectiveness and how they could run the football and potentially win the ground game. So that's that game. That's where Gus, Jenny, and I will be. Remember, coverage begins at 9 a.m. Eastern time as Big Noon Kickoff has a fresh 3-hour edition of Big Noon Kickoff. And then we've got the game for you at noon Eastern. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. And you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.